Hey guys, it's Big J. It's time for Freaky Friday. Over there's Mrs. That's right, it is Freaky Friday. And what Freaky Friday is ghost stories, paranormal stories. Today, doing one like a local legend type thing. I actually had an experience with it as well. And it's about the 5th Street bride or ghost chick, whatever you want to call it. Now, oh yeah, she picks up there again. Alright, now in this book right here, it's called West Virginia Ghost Stories. The big book of West Virginia Ghost Stories. And it is done by Rosemary Ellen Guiley. I can't really pronounce the name, but it's right there. Now, in this story, give that to Mrs. Now, I'll go ahead and tell my story first, or do you think we should do?
We'll do this and then do yours.
Okay.
Now, there is a reason why we're using the book. It's because everything I reference said the very same thing. I gotta use, since somebody hijacked the good one, I still need, like, what? Now, it says the story is set on Fifth Street Road, a major road that extends south of Huntington. It goes up Fifth Street Hill and then descends to an interchange on I-64. The vanishing hitchhiker is a young woman who stands at the top of the hill trying to catch a ride from motorists. She is often seen after midnight on rainy nights when drivers might take pity on a young woman out alone in the elements at a late hour. Whenever she's picked up, she climbs into the back seat and asks the driver to let her off at the bottom of the hill. She vanishes sometimes after a few minutes, but always before the vehicle reaches at the bottom of the hill. Now, there is a couple stories that go with it. It goes back to 1942, stating a few days prior, a black and white cab driver dropped off his fare at a dance hall on Fifth Street Road about 4:30 a.m. On his return to Huntington, he saw a young woman and gave a story as follows. When I got to the top of Fifth Street Hill, a girl held me from roadside. I stopped, opened the door, and she got into the rear seat. It was pretty cold, but she didn't have any coat or hat on, just a skirt and a thin blouse. I thought that was funny and said, "It's pretty cold without a coat, isn't it?" She replied, "I haven't had a coat in 9 or 10 years. I apologize." I asked the girl where she was going, and she told me to let her off at the bottom of the hill. I drove down the hill about 20 or 25 miles an hour, stopped at the house, and turned around to collect my fare and let the girl out. She was not sitting in the seat. I thought maybe she had fainted or something and fell off the seat, so I looked down on the floor. There was nobody there. I looked back up the road and couldn't see anybody, so I drove back to the taxi headquarters and I said to the dispatcher, "I've just been chipped out of a quarter," and I told him what happened. He said he had heard the same thing happening to a yellow cab driver about a year before in the same place, and called up the yellow cab office and asked them about it. They said it happened to one of their drivers. Now, the reporter who wrote the article located a relative of the yellow cab driver who confirmed that his cousin had told him about an almost identical experience a year earlier when they both were working for the yellow cab company. Now, the thing with Fifth Street Hill Ghost, it's not really first-person experiences.
No.
With any of the research. It's people have heard from a friend of this is what's happened, because it did happen so long ago. Now, the actual origin story that came out in the local newspaper, November of 1958, said quite a few years ago, a Huntington couple took their daughter and her fiance to Wayne to be married, which is Wayne County, different from where we're at. It was in the early spring, just season for marriages, and the wedding went off without a hitch. However, on their way back, rain started coming down in a slow drizzle, the kind that makes the road slick. At the foot of the hill, just before coming to the bridge at the corner of Fifth Street and Boulevard, the car overturned and the bride was killed. Ever since then, but especially in the early spring, and only when it's raining, the bride reappears on the hill, standing at the top wearing her white dress She thumbs her rod from passing motorist.
Okay, so I've heard a lot of stories about the Fifth Street Hill ghost myself, from experiences from like cab drivers and everything like that, bus drivers as well, because recently
Yes.
buses started going out that way, because there's a couple call centers out that way that buses run to. I myself, like I said, have experienced it. Now, I worked at a call center, and my schedule for the call center it was right around noon. It was like 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. with an hour and a half, like an hour and a half lunch or something like that. And I was sitting there, and they needed overtime, and I was like, well, I could use extra cash. I stayed until about 11:45. Wasn't mandatory overtime yet, but it was volunteer basis. And at the time, I was using Mrs. Father's truck because my truck got hit by a junkie. And was sitting there, and I was like, okay. Well, it was raining. Wasn't like heavy downpour. It was kind of like a misty rain. It was like that annoying rain that happens. And as soon as I got to the top of the hill, there was someone standing there hitchhiking, and from what it looked like, it was a chick. But I didn't stop because, for one, I don't like people I don't know in my car. Weird at work, I did Uber, but it was mainly in the city. And surprisingly enough, a lot of people that got me as an Uber I knew. But and two, it wasn't my car to get rides in. So I was kind of like, okay, so we'll do this. And I drove by, but the weird thing is like I could see through most of this chick, and it was crazy. And when I looked in the mirror, nothing was there. It was so crazy. It's like when you're going towards the top of that hill, you see whatever aspiration it is, but when you turn or look in your rearview mirror, there's nothing there. It's like you got past it. And there was an urban legend going around that if you picked her up, a couple of days later something happens to your car, or you experience some kind of paranormal shit that goes on with your car, like when you get to a certain spot where this girl was at, car would dive, sputter, something.
That was a common story I found.
Like a brand new car.
That was a common story I found. People would try to drive by her, or one guy said that he tried to drive by her, didn't want to pick her up, and it just stopped. His car completely stopped, and he saw her run to the car. And when she got to where he was, she hopped in, and the car just started up like there wasn't nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I've heard.
And what's funny is the call center where he was working at, it was right
At the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
So now there's two ways. Like there's this hill and this road. This hill is huge. It's not one of those you just go up a down hill. The hill, it's one of the more dangerous roads in Huntington. There's been more accidents on this road. In the wintertime, they actually close through traffic. Not only if you work on the other side of the hill, you have to take the interstate. They actually close this road down. And it's steep. It's not safe going down either direction. I mean, going down towards the call center is actually not as steep, but the part that goes in or out of Huntington is like this.
And it's totally different now. Because do you remember, like, when we were kids, how that road was? It's been built up since we were kids. And it used to just be that and nothing else. And it was treacherous back then. And it's still not too good now, but it's a little bit more...
Like the salt trucks, even salt trucks can't get to it.
Because of where it connects to the interstate and things like that now. But I remember it from when I was little, because we have family that lived out Lane, and Mom and Dad going out there, and that really was the way Dad would go.
You see, it actually show you how bad it is. They're actually trying to figure out a way to make a bypass with it, or either demolish it and bring the hill down more.
There's too much business to there for them to demolish it now.
or something. You can still connect through the interstate. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of a out of a way detour, but you can still do it that way.
True. That's true.
But yeah, and you know, I've seen. I mean, I've actually heard people that there's actually people that walk up that hill. I don't know how, but they walk that, and they said that they can hear the cries of a woman at the top of that hill at night. And I mean, it's one of those things that it's an absolute legend around here, kind of like the Mothman is in Point Pleasant, or Plantation Ghost that's in a plantation that's kind of in between Point Pleasant and Huntington. It's kind of like in the center. There's things about it. There's one of the oldest theaters in the United States that's still active is here, the Keith Albee.
It went from being a theater to a movie theater to now it's back to being a theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is old as hell.
That we need to do a thing on that because that was
it is insane. You know, and a lot of the older buildings around here, you just get that feeling.
There's still a lot of old buildings around here because I know there's a lot of times when I'm going somewhere with my dad, he points out, because got to keep in mind my dad's in his 70s, so he points out, you know, this used to be here and that building used to be that. And it's kind of crazy. And you look at old pictures, because some of the restaurants around here will have old pictures of here from like the 30s and 40s and see how much has been built up. I'm sorry, am I boring you? Just teasing you.
I don't know if you were done or not. Did you, I mean, when talking? But, yeah, I mean, and there's some of the old houses around here are creepy as shit, too. Like, the older houses around here, you drive by them, you just get a creepy feel. Cemeteries around here, there's huge cemeteries in Huntington. Huge cemeteries. There's Spring Hill, Woodmere. There's one in Bart. It's like on Route 6. I can't remember the name of it.
Memorial.
Yeah.
You talking about the newer one?
No, I'm talking about the one with the two fountains by the old Kmart. That's not new at all.
Oh.
That's one of the older cemeteries around here.
I do not remember.
And there's one out by the mall that's kind of new. And then you go out to like these old church cemeteries, like where her like older families at, and there's headstones from like 17 something.
You can't hardly make out the dates on them anymore. They're rocks.
Yeah, they're like their place markers basically, but you just get that. You get that feeling like we pulled up and you like one time. I stopped dead in my tracks because I saw someone standing at the back of the cemetery, and there. It was creepy.
A lot of my mom's family is buried out in old country cemeteries. Ironically, in Mason County, which is... No, wait, I'm thinking wrong.
Mason County is where the TNT bunkers are from Mothman.
Right. Okay, I was right.
About 15 minutes from where Mothman Museum's at.
Like
you turn off certain area.
Because I mean that the one is so old that it's just been the last 10 years that they've actually paved the road, and it no longer has an outhouse and things like that. It's just been the last I'll say 15-20 years that it's been upgraded. It was the first time you went with us. It was still gravel, wasn't it? Was it paved? Okay.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah. And then it's just I've talked to well over 25 people that all said they had some kind of experience or they heard some kind of story about that chick on Fifth Street Hill. If you ever come to Huntington, I suggest you try it out if you're an average person who likes to look at people, like do stuff like that. Also, you can see just how of a monstrous road this is. It's four lanes going up, it converges to 2 lanes. Then it goes into the I-64 interchange, and it's one of the easiest ways to get to Wayne County from Huntington. It's a little bit longer way, but so that was the inaugural Freaky Friday. So what we're gonna do now is turn this light back on, so we don't see no creepy shit.
Look what's Cass just popped into the room for no reason. He just kind of like did the ta-da.
Get this to the front and back. And so what we're going to be doing is tomorrow complete the first actual week of recording stuff. Saturdays are going to be wake up Saturday, of course, and that's basically what we're going to talk about. What we're going to be doing that day. Tomorrow is going to be kind of a quick video, more on the road. It's going to be more on the road. We're going to try to record it while I'm driving because we're just going over to Chili Fest. But, kind of give you an idea of what we're doing. And, So Myth Monday is going to be the Twin Towers. Tea Tuesday is going to be Whatever We Find. Wiki Wednesday is whatever's in the bag. Next Thursday will be a Throwdown Thursday. We'll do some exercises and a cooking video for you guys. And we may record a meal prep video on Sunday and upload it Thursday. I don't know yet. And Freaky Friday next week is... don't remember. Figure it out. So I love you guys. This has been Big J. That's Mrs.
Later.
Casper is in the background somewhere.
Right here. Yeah.
And yes, he's named after the ghost because we got him. Matter of fact, he'll be 8 years old.
Come here.
So
You don't know what to do. Come here. Can I show off? Come baby. He ain't gonna come to you. He's getting sketchy with me for some reason.
Come here, big guy. Come here, fat boy. This is Casper. As you can see, he's all white. He doesn't like me very much. I don't beat him or nothing. It's just I don't like him. So
He's my baby, not yours.
yes, he was mine until.
So.
But love you guys. Don't forget to be peaceful. Be happy with one another. Eat healthy. Subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Share these videos with people so we can get more subscribers. Love you guys. Have a good evening. Later.